I would say it started with the chancellor. From a medical standpoint, we really handled all the medical guidelines to help manage through the pandemic. As a staff, frankly, we came back pretty early. I mean, we were back in the offices last fall when all the student athletes came back. Again, we wore masks and managed, worked in our offices in masks and things like that. But we felt that as long as the student athletes were on campus, if it was safe for us to be on campus, then we would be on campus. But economically, we were really blessed to the chancellor's managed us like he did the rest of the campus. We did not have to lay people off. We did not have to furlough or eliminate staff, which is a real blessing and very unusual compared to other campuses and certainly athletic departments. So we feel fortunate from that standpoint. And the pandemic also allowed us to, save money in terms of recruiting. Our coaches weren't on the road. We did have to travel and we did have to expand some travel opportunities, different busing situations and that sort of thing. So there were ways that we certainly saved money throughout the year by not being all together, and really managed our finances the best we could.
Did you dig into any financial reserves? Did you have to do that?
No. I mean, we didn't, because again, we did not spend as much as we normally would in a given year. I mean, coaches, 19 sports coaches recruiting throughout the year.
Is it safe to say it was a wash between revenue and income?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that, our revenues were significantly down because we didn't have any fans, right? So we couldn't sell a single ticket. You can't sell, concessions and all those sorts of things. So I think our revenues were down, obviously significantly, like every school in the country.
Heather, the Alliance press release was, it said that everyone kind of unanimous deal, right? So
yes.
What were your thoughts about it initially when it first got brought to your attention, and kind of where do you stand on that?
Yeah, well, Commissioner Phillips brought it to the ACC athletic directors. We meet weekly and proposed the concept. We thought it was an exceptional idea. It really would not have happened except for Commissioner Phillips' collaboration with those other two conference commissioners. Kevin and George are phenomenal people, but they don't have as much experience in the world of college, the management of college athletics. So, I think Jim's vision for the Alliance, the stability that it creates, and the idea that 41 schools are kind of locking arms, and we're like-minded. We believe in very similar values when it comes to college athletics: broad-based sports participation, strong academic institutions, and doing what's best for our student athletes. And so I think it really created quite a bit of stability among our three conferences, and the future is really where it's going to kind of play out. Everyone's like, well, what does this mean? I think it will have a real impact in the future governance structure of whatever the NCAA or whatever ends up looking like. Long term, there's some scheduling opportunities. There's some unique events we could host and do some creative things that way. And I think it's terrific. It goes across the country and covers the spectrum.
I was going to ask about the non-conference scheduling deal of that. How do you see that realistically playing out?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we all agreed we would honor our current contracts. And so, you all know in football scheduling, it's scheduled very far out. So we'll have to we'll honor those contracts. Basketball will probably be able to have more of an impact quicker. Be creative. You have the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Do we do that in other sports? Do we add in the Pac-12 in different ways? So I think I think there will be some really unique opportunities. If you think about the cities that our schools are all in, they're pretty attractive cities too to host events and do some things for fans and people to travel to.
And the idea behind, even with basketball specifically, could be one, but mid-season tournaments or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know that it'll be mid-season because it's tough to play with your conference schedule. But I think some preseason opportunities will certainly be the first look at what we'll do.
Have your ADs and you talked about possible ACC expansion with the commissioner?
We have. I think that we're really happy with our makeup right now and our 14 schools, and we have Notre Dame obviously in as well. So I think we're very happy with the way our conference makeup looks as of today.
You keep dealing with you keep dealing with like thing after thing. It's NIL, it's college football playoffs, it's a pandemic, and now this alliance. Like, how do you kind of keep things like going in a normal direction when nothing seems normal anymore? Every month there's a new wave of what's going on in college sports.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the ability to adapt, and persevere through tough times. I don't think anything was more challenging than the pandemic because it affected the world and because we didn't know what the end was in sight. That was challenging. The other things, name, image, and likeness, we'll manage our way through that sort of thing. Conference realignment has happened before, and I think us trying to figure out what's the best structure for the future of college sports, that's really the next thing on the horizon of how do we manage it, how do we make it preserve what's phenomenal about college sports, what everybody loves about college sports, and the fact that broad-based sports opportunities across the board, men and women, is important to all of us.
A lot of fans' instant reaction to seeing this is like the possibility of old rivalries coming back, like Penn State, West Virginia. How much does that play into just like you thinking behind it when you're in your own rooms, like going into maybe furthering certain discussions to get build those futures?
Yeah, I think we're thinking big picture in what's best for the future of college sports. I don't think any one of us says, how can I leverage this to get Penn State to play Pitt? We would love to play Penn State. They know that. But everybody has strong rivalries, and this is not a boycott against the SEC because obviously Georgia Tech, Clemson, South Carolina, all those rivalries will continue. So I think it's more about what's best for the whole picture of college sports.
Greg, I think you had one over. Alan,
Yeah.
I know, Heather, you got commitments inside.
That's okay. Yeah,
time.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I feel like every time one of these big picture changes comes down the pipeline, the reaction from maybe not all of the fans, but at least a certain subset of the fans is oh, that's it. College athletics is done. It's going to change irreparably forever. And how do you, as a leader of an institution's athletic department, sort of not just deal with okay, how are we going to deal with this internally, but just how do you see the future and say no, this isn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
How does Pitt look at the end of this? How do you go about those sort of big strategic things where you might not be the athletic director at Pitt anymore by the time this is figured out and done and solid, but to put those sort of big picture plans in motion?
Yeah. Well, I hope I am the athletic director at Pitt. No, I love it here, and I understand what you're asking. The reality is, it's the essence of what college sports is based upon, student athletes, students going to school and getting an education and having the opportunity to play college sports. I don't think anyone dismisses the importance of that. The opportunities that young people have, obviously we know a lot of them would not be in college and would not be earning their degree but for the opportunity to play college sports. And that's just not football and basketball, that's a lot of other sports. So, and I think ultimately, you know that chancellors and presidents across the country make a lot of these decisions and help guide these decisions. And, for example, our chancellor, and I know many of the chancellors out there, they believe in what college athletics, the DNA that it brings to a campus. They believe in the camaraderie, the connectivity, the community that it builds within their campus environment, and they want to preserve that. And so I don't see this ever being something that, college athletics just goes away. I really don't. It's just, how does it look? It's going to look differently than it did years and years ago. And so what benefits can we provide student athletes? How do we take care of them better? That's evolved significantly in the 20 years I've worked in college athletics. So it will continue to evolve, and we've got to get on the front end of it and, I think be a little bit more progressive leaders in college sports.
Time for one more.
Heather, your name's has been bandied about as a possibility at Michigan State. I was curious if there's been any contact between you and the school or anyone representing the school.
There has. I'm very happy at Pitt. I'm thrilled to work for Chancellor Gallagher, and I expect to stay here and hope to, make that arrangement work.
All right.